Okay. Hello everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. If you haven't attended these before, I normally do it every Friday at 2:30 UK time, just as the markets are opening. What we do, we'll have a look at some of the major events to watch out for next week, the major news announcements, then we'll jump onto the charts and take a look at some of the more popular markets, indices, commodities, oil, gold, what else? FX, Bitcoin, all that sort of stuff, to see where the opportunities have been. I think it's been a bit of a scrappy month. I run a WhatsApp group, and I was talking on the WhatsApp group this morning. I'm slightly ahead for the month, but it has been scrappy, and I think for me this is a good example of why. I did a Nasdaq trade last Friday after the live stream, so in here somewhere here, and it sort of moved up. It didn't move up enough. And it sort of bounced back down again or fallen back down. And I think we just had sort of, for me, it's felt like in lots of markets, trends haven't really got going, particularly in the last couple of weeks or so. So I found it perhaps a little bit frustrating. But, these periods don't last forever. And, I'm sure there'll be some interesting moves in the weeks and the months to come. I've got quite a few trades on at the moment. I'll talk through those as well, just what trades I've got running at the moment. See how they're doing. But before we do all of that, let's just go through some of the housekeeping stuff. So this presentation is only for educational purposes. It does not contain and should not be construed as containing investment advice or an investment recommendation or an offer of or solicitation for a transaction in any financial instrument. David Jones accepts no responsibility for any use that may be made of these comments and for any consequences that result. You should consider whether you understand how spread bets, CFDs, futures, foreign exchange work, and whether you can afford to take the high risk of losing your money. Trading is risky. Right. So next week, a bit of a quieter week next week, but we do have Australian inflation data, the early hours of Wednesday. Canadian interest rate decision later on Wednesday, but probably the bigger decision next week, I think, is from what I can see, or the bigger news next week, is going to be the European interest rate decision on Thursday. And as usual with these things, it's the press conference that can really cause the sparks to fly in markets. If anything's going to move markets, it can be the press conference. So let's see. So a bit more of a subdued week next week, I think, for markets. Let's see what that means to market movements. A quick word for me on the stuff I do. If you've watched this before, you know I run a trading course that covers medium-term trading, shorter-term trading, live webinars. There's a WhatsApp group as part of the course. I publicly traded this account from November to January last year. $4,000 account, made over 50% in that period. All the details are on my website. You can see all the trades I did. And I do this, as I said before, to try and establish some credibility, because if somebody's trying to teach you about trading, you shouldn't really trust what they're saying, because it's full of snake oil merchants. So I did this to try and show that I actually, I do this. So the details on the website. Did it again in whenever it was, May to July, with a $5,000 account. Booked profits were £3,116 in that period. I have to say that past performance is no guarantee of future performance. And you have to look at this here. This is the reality of trading. I think I probably know what I'm doing, as far as anybody can do when it comes to trading. But, in that 3-month period from May to the end of July, 58% of my trades were profitable. So, I'm still wrong more than 4 times out of 10. So there is much more to trading than trying to find the perfect system. I think lots of us waste time. I know I did in the early years, the first 5 years of trading, trying to find a perfect system. It's utter waste of time. So, of course, the thing I talk about on my course, amongst other things, is the importance of the maths of trading. Things like your risk reward and your probability and running winners. One of the reasons I've not had a barnstorming month this month. I've only really had one decent winner. It was a Nasdaq long from earlier in the month. So the winning trades, I mean, they've made money, but they've not made a massive multiple of the risk. So for me, I'm always keeping an eye on those sort of numbers because it will show me, what's sort of what I think might be going wrong with my trading at the moment or what can be improved. I said I did a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and I said in the webinar, for me, perhaps 2 trades a month are the ones that make the difference. So in a typical month, I'll do perhaps 20 trades, 4 trades a week, something like that. And it will be a couple of big winners that make 3 or 4 times my risk that end up really making the month overall for me. So if I have a month like this where it feels all a little bit scrappy and I've only had one decent big winner, the Nasdaq, then it absolutely does impact the performance for the month. Even though I'm up for the month, I'm not up as much as I have been in recent months. So so far, I had a losing month in August. It's my smallest winning month probably since about March. So when was that? 7 months ago. So, but it happens, you can't sort of knock it out of the park every month in trading. You just got to sit there and grind out the process. Anyway, WhatsApp group. I run this WhatsApp group. It used to be just for people who are on the course. I've opened it up to a load of people now. And if you want to join it, you can join it. It's a bit like this, but a bit more focused, and it's every day. So I do a daily update, markets I'm watching, trades I'm running, Q&A. People can fire in questions during the day, and I'll always give my opinion. It might not be right, but I've done it for a long time, so I do have an opinion. It's normally £50 a month. If you subscribe using the code YouTube, you get 20% off for the first month. So you can try it and see if you like it. I'm never going to do it for free because it's my time, So and I think it's well worth it. But try it and see. That's a snapshot of what it looks like. Blah blah blah. Markets. My trades. This is what's going on. Here's an interesting chart of the day that I'm watching. So it's that sort of thing every day, and you get access to me. So that's it. Trustpilot reviews, the trading course. I do send a newsletter out, although I haven't sent it out for quite a few weeks. But if you go to the website, davidjonestrading.co.uk, you can sign up in that box there and get added to the newsletter list. And I will get back into the rhythm of sending it. I find it quite boring writing newsletters about markets. I'd much rather be actually doing it, trading, looking at markets, or doing something else. So I need to change that. And start knocking out this newsletter on a more regular basis. But if you go there and sign up, then you'll be in it when I decide to pull my finger out. That's it. Okay, so go to the website. It's all there. Details of all the historical trades I've done, all that sort of stuff. Let's take a look at what's going on. So, like I said, funny whole week. I've got a few trades running at the moment. I bought euro dollar yesterday. I bought oil yesterday. I'm in heating oil trade from last week. I bought Swiss yen this morning. I'm a long dollar index trade. That's a bit rubbish. Been in that for a couple of weeks. That's it, I think. But let's have a look at some stuff. Let's go and have a look at the dailies. I think stock markets, they're really tricky for me when it's like this. If we look at the Nasdaq, let's take these lines off. So we look at the Nasdaq. I think my big winner on the Nasdaq was from in here somewhere, beginning of the month, and out up here. And it's interesting next week because we're coming back to the old support. But, for the first 7 months of the year, we did have an uptrend on the Nasdaq. There we go. And I'd say that trend is still up. But the last time we saw a new high for that trend was in the middle of July. So it's 3 months ago now. And we've just been a bit sideways and a bit drifty since then. So I would still be leaning towards being a buyer of the Nasdaq. I think these levels might be interesting, around 14.2 and then 14.4, the lows from late September. Let's see what happens next week. If it drops back next week and it holds around there, perhaps it's interesting. I don't know. Let's see. But yeah, just a bit drifty for me. Same with the S&P. I mean, if we pick up on the S&P trend from, it's a year ago now, isn't it? If we pick up on that trend from October, badly drawn trend line. It's again for me, it's still in that trend. Okay, it's having a little wiggle through the trend line, but I think if next week, if it starts taking out that 4,200 level, or even today, it doesn't look so good anymore, does it? Well, not to me anyway. So, but again, we've not had a new high since the end of July, and the market's dropped back about 340 points. So what's that? About 6%? No, it's more than that. 8% or something from those highs. So yeah, it's just a bit driftorama at the moment for me, the S&P. So these are markets I do look at every day, but I don't really have the compulsion to do a trade on these at the moment. So yeah, it needs to really sort itself out one way or the other. The DAX, the DAX looks pretty weak. If you have a look at the DAX off these highs in July, we've broken through this old support that's been in place since April, and we're making new lows for that down move. There was someone in the WhatsApp group who had a long-term short on the DAX, so if they're still short, I'll be happy with that. So it looks weak to me, and I'd be selling the rallies on the DAX at the moment. If we're looking for targets, perhaps the lows from March, also almost the lows for the year, about 400 points lower than here. Let's see what happens. But I would absolutely sell a rally. If we had a rally next week in the DAX back up to 15.4, it looks like an interesting short to me up there. So pretty weak. Again, the old DAX. FTSE doing its own thing as usual, but pretty sideways this year, the FTSE. And we're trading now where we were in March of this year and where we were in December last year. So yeah, just sideways and boring. Bottom of the range is at 7,200. Recent top of the range is at 7,750. The market's at 7,420. So we're sort of halfway. So just boring. It could be a bit of a trading buy next week, perhaps, maybe, because we have these old lows from going back 6th September. There you go. I did do my biggest winner. My second biggest winner on the month is the FTSE, and I bought it at 74.80 in here somewhere, and it did rocket up a couple of weeks ago, or the week before last. I think it'd be interesting if it starts wobbling around and holding above these old lows next week. So that's that on the FTSE. But it's pretty uninspiring, I think, so far, these stock markets. Japan 225, the Nikkei. The trend is still up, I would say, since Jan, although we haven't had a new high since June. Some people would argue, and it's a fair enough argument, that perhaps we are still in a bit of a correction since then. I don't know, but all a bit scrappy again, isn't it? So I don't know. I don't know what I'd do with that, to be honest. Do nothing with that. So stock markets, from when early in the year, I was all buy the dip. I struggle to see too much for my trading approach at the moment, which is very much trend following or trend reversal. I do not think there is a lot out there exciting for me in stock markets for now. But let's see what happens next week. Particularly with these old lows in the Nasdaq, the old low in the S&P from earlier in the month. Let's see what happens. But a little bit uninspiring, I think. Let's take a look at some other markets. Dollar index. This is another one that, it is having a pause. Markets can't go up all the time, even though, I get frustrated when they don't move in one direction all the time. We had this uptrend in the dollar index since July. And it's just I suppose it's having a bit of a rest. I'd still be a buyer. I am long the dollar index at the moment. I think I'm about break even, maybe slightly under. If I was a buyer now, the closest I put my stop would be under 105.50. But you see it's been pretty sideways for the last week, hasn't it? If we look on the hourlies, someone mentioned it last night in the WhatsApp chat, and I said perhaps an aggressive trade would be a stop under 106 after it sold off, and it blipped up 40 points, but we're back again. And it's just, again, you can see the last week, just a bit scrappy, really. So my medium-term bias is still to expect further gains from the dollar index. If it breaks below 105.50, I'd change my mind. But sort of that's where I am at the moment. But again, a fairly uneventful week since we last looked at it. Looking at other markets, let's do pound against the dollar first. The trend is still down on that one. We had this great uptrend from, that was the old, was it Liz Truss, wasn't it, in the Kwasi Kwarteng budget last year. that smashed financial markets in the UK. So that was that move down to 104, and since then we had the recovery, didn't we? We've had the recovery since then, which I suppose looks something like that. And then since July we've had this downtrend. So I'd have to say at the moment I'd still be a seller of the rallies, in the pound against the dollar. So it still looks pretty weak to me. We've got big resistance up at 123.40, a couple of 100 points higher than where we are now. So that's that. Euro, I did buy the euro yesterday. I'll talk about why I bought it in a second. But the euro, I think, is more interesting than the pound because it's had the briefest of looks below the low for the year. Okay, one of my favourite trading strategies that I talk about in my trading course, plug, is the false breakout trade. And it's interesting when a market breaks a level like this thing did, beginning of October, but we don't get any follow through, and it reverses it pretty quickly. So I suppose if you really wanted to buy the euro and you believe the euro was set for a storming end to 2023, one idea is to be a buyer with a stop under that low. That low is, what's that low? 104.48. So it's only, let's say you had it at 104, 180 point stop on the euro, and maybe it's going to go back up to where it was in August. I don't know. But I thought it was interesting. Anyway, is the trend still down? I would say the trend is still down on the euro, even though we've had a little bit of a blip higher. So I think the trend is still down on that one. But I did buy it yesterday, saying all of that. I bought it yesterday because on the hourlies, it's an hourly trade for me. The trend over the past week has been up, gently up, and it got sort of slammed a bit on Wednesday, faffed around, held, so I bought it at 105.50 or something yesterday. So I'm in that trade, short-term trade. I said in the WhatsApp group I'm going to do a more aggressive trading to the end of the year to see how it goes. So that was one of my more aggressive trades. Let's see what happens. If it pushes back up to 106.40, the highs from just a week yesterday, it looks like a good trade still. So let's see. So yeah. So that's that. Swiss yen. I did that trade this morning. I thought it was interesting. Broke out. This has been a really good market for me this year on the way up. Bang, 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 bang. Great trend. It's all been a bit sideways since August. Broke out to new highs on Wednesday. I don't really like trading breakouts, but pushed a bit high yesterday, pushed a bit higher today, and I thought, right, as part of my aggressive trading strategy, I need to buy it. So I bought it today. And I'm going with that trend on the hourlies. And I've got a 200 point stop, which is only where it was 2 days ago. So let's see what happens with that. So that was that. Other one worthy of mention that someone mentioned this morning, New Zealand dollar against the chuff. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. Briefly, this move down here today is a very brief move to new all-time lows. There we go. We go all the way back to 1980. There we go. Who even knew New Zealand existed in 1980? So 1980, New Zealand dollar was up there against the Swiss franc, and here we are, all-time lows. As I thought it was interesting, the trend is clearly down. Looks like that. Blah, blah, blah. Interesting one to watch perhaps next week, but I'd still be selling the rallies on the New Zealand dollar against the chuff, the Swiss franc. But there was an election, I think, last weekend in New Zealand. So I think it has caused a bit of volatility. Bounced back a bit on Monday and then continued the downtrend this week. So I thought that was interesting. So there we go. There's some markets. To have a look at some more interesting markets, I think. What should we look at? Let's look at oil. So oil on the dailies. What would you say about that? I mean, it did break out just the beginning of this month, and we have had, again, a bit of volatility because of obviously the situation in Israel. I bought it yesterday. I'll talk about why I bought it. But I think, even on the dailies, for me, the trend is still up. So I'd still buy the dips. I think the risk is with oil, we could see some sharp reversals because it has been perhaps quite news driven the last couple of weeks or so. So I don't think we'll see $100 anytime soon. Famous last words. But I'd still be leaning towards being a buyer of oil. The reason I bought it yesterday, it was, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was in here yesterday somewhere. I bought it because the trend has been up. On the hourlies in the short term time frame, the trend has been up. It sold off a bit, stabilised, so I bought it. It's moved. I've got it on a trailing stop now, so I'll come out with a profit of some sort. So I think on the hourlies it's still up. I'd still be a buyer of the dip. So if it sold off down to 87, 86 again, I would absolutely be a buyer. Let's see what happens. Maybe if it ran up to 95, the highs from the end of September, that'd be a good trade. So let's see where it goes. Price of oil, heating oil. I'm in that trade as well. I think heating oil on the dailies, it perhaps looks a bit scrappy, but it has to me reversed that downtrend it had been in since June of 2022. I think. Let's draw that on and see. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'm talking absolute rubbish. Okay, so arguably, some would say it's still in that downtrend. Fair enough. So again, perhaps not too much on the dailies. I did the trade a week last Wednesday. So it was in here somewhere. So I'm in the trade on that. Now, again, just based on this little recovery. And the recovery is carried on chugging away. I've got a trailing stop on. Nearly got stopped out yesterday. Still in the trade. Blah, blah, blah. I'd still buy the dips on that heating oil. But perhaps the most interesting one at the moment is natural gas. I am going to do a trade on natural gas next week. It's just got to stop going down. So we know that natural gas, if you've watched natural gas over the last, or even over the last, the last 2 years, it has been a crazy market. 2021, natural gas was $2.50. July 22, it was $10, give or take. And then April this year, it was $2. So it is quite the crazy market, natural gas. Trades like an old school cryptocurrency. But we had this, been stuck in this sideways range, bang, 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 till October, early October. Broke out, classic breakout of the range. Recovery trend is up, blah, blah, blah. Dips back, so I want to be a buyer. But it has carried on dipping. So I think it's going to be interesting next week. So I've been waiting to see where this sell-off stops. So that for me is one for next week. Where does the sell-off in natural gas stop? I would expect it, or be thinking about it starting to stop before 270 or thereabouts. But let's see what happens. If I was a buyer on the medium term, I would probably want my stop below these old lows. These lows from July, and again in August, and again in August, and again in September, that 244 level. So I think it'd be interesting to see what happens with that one next week. See where it goes. So that's that. That's natural gas. Interesting chart on the dailies. As crazy as it ever was. Now gold, I have been wrong-footed. I didn't trade it this week, but I've been really surprised by gold this week because I was looking at this rally. I'm surprised the thing has rallied as much as it has anyway. But I was looking at that this week and thinking, well, that is a textbook short. Gold from the highs in May to where it was Monday this week. This is the rally that fails ahead of the old resistance. And down we go again towards 1800. And for fans of the old squiggles, the RSI was overbought as well. But bang, bang, away we go. And here we are, gold, $15 below $2,000 an ounce. So gold has had quite the run. I think it'll be interesting next week. See what happens here. The old highs from 1980. No, the old highs at 1987, not from 1987. I would still be thinking about going short, but I wouldn't go short into this today because the thing is so strong. But yeah, an absolute great run in the price of gold. So let's see. Is gold going to hit fresh all-time highs? I don't see why it would, but who knows? We did have briefly fresh all-time highs in May. didn't last, sold off. Perhaps if we see, sustained pressure on the the US dollar, we'll see more of a sell-off in gold. But big move. Silver, I'm long silver. We did that trade on silver. Oh, it's on highs for the move. So I'm long silver. We did the trade. Where is it? The other week, 2 weeks ago. Bought silver. So this is my account that I use for these YouTube things. Real money, my money. So bought silver at 21.23. Stop was originally, can't even remember, $19.50 I think. And here we are, $460 profit. Excellent. So that's moved well. I've got a trailing stop on that. So that's where we are on silver. And I think I did the trade in here. I think again, it's going back to this false break thing I talked about. So it was the Friday. So it was right in that red candle. There we go. So that's when the trade was done. And that's the Monday. Oh, it was after that. Perhaps it was here. It was here, the 6th of October. So the market had broken, but I wondered, was it a false break? Stop under that low, and it's worked quite well. So I'm in the trading stop. Let's see what happens. Bit scrappy. It's messed up that trend. That trend was pretty textbook until we had that sell-off. So a little bit messy since then. Let's see where that goes. So that's silver. Interesting market. I'd be worried about it perhaps starting to run out of steam because we've had a 10% move in the last couple of weeks. Let's see what happens. Bitcoin. Look at the crazy cryptos. Same old for me. I say it every week. I would buy the dips on Bitcoin. That dip worked quite well in the middle of September. The trend had been up. It's fallen out of the trend, but we haven't taken out the previous major high. I wonder, is it going to start to struggle again next week or the next couple of weeks, as we've seen it over the last 18 months, ahead of 32,500, let's call it. Let's see. Or are we going to get the breakout? We're going to get the Bitcoin breakout. But 32.5 is the level to watch. Let me try and put an alert on that. Hang on. Add alert on Bitcoin. There we go. Let's do an alert. 32.5. So I can just then move all my savings into Bitcoin, ready for the run to 250,000 if it breaks that level. Let's see. It'll be interesting, I think, what happens next week. That's that. Some other interesting bits from this week. Palladium. Palladium, the trend has been relentless on Palladium and continues, not quite today perhaps, but still weak. An absolute, ongoing, not collapse, but since March 22, it's dropped by 2/3. The price of Palladium still looks pretty weak to me. Back to October 2018 levels. So 5-year lows on Palladium. What else is interesting? I've been in this sugar trade. I mentioned the sugar trade. I've been in that since July. I wondered if it was going to break out this week. It hasn't. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Orange juice has had a good run over the last year or so. Trend is still up in that, and a few other bits and pieces in there. So some interesting things going on. For me next week, what is the most interesting? Probably the most interesting is natural gas. From a daily chart point of view, natural gas might be the most interesting next week to keep an eye on. The euro trade is interesting. I'm in the trade, so let's see what happens with that. Heating oil, I'm hoping that gets a bit of a move on, and oil gets a bit of a move on. Gold is interesting because we've had this crazy run and it's still going up. Look at that. So we're at new highs for that trend at the moment. So let's see what happens. And stock markets, they are boring for me at the moment, but let's see if they sort themselves out. So what we'll do now, we'll look at any stuff you want looking at. So if there's anything you want looking at, if you put it in the comments and I'll take a look at it. But don't forget, to find out more about the stuff I do, the trades I've done, all the usual, go to davidjonestrading.co.uk. You can sign up for the WhatsApp group if you want to sign up for the WhatsApp group and try that for a month. Use the code YouTube and you get a 20% discount. It's well worth it. It's the price of a cup of coffee a day. So I'd recommend it. But obviously just go to the website to find out more. Right, let's jump into, and the links are all in the description. Let's jump into the questions. Do you think the FTSE 250 might have a rebound running up to Christmas? Funnily enough, I was just thinking today about I can never get the FTSE 250 on here. Someone did tell me how to do it once and I've forgotten. I was thinking today about the Christmas rally, the famous Santa rally that everyone talks about in December. I don't know. I mean, that's the FTSE. This is a FTSE 250. What is it? ETF that tracks the FTSE. The trend had been down. It had recovered, the FTSE 250, and now we're back down the lows, near the lows again. So I suppose if it's going to bounce from anywhere, this is the place, isn't it? So it's interesting to watch, but it's still weak at the moment. You know, if it takes out that low, what happens? We go back to where we were just after the COVID crash, really. So it's been a real underperformer, hasn't it? The FTSE 250. So I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens near those lows. I was looking actually this morning, the Russell, the US small cap 2000, similar sort of move. So we had the downtrend, rallies. It's been sideways since August 22, and it's heading back to the lows for the year. So similar moves in both of these smaller capitalized stock indices in the UK and the the US, the Russell. So yeah, let's keep an eye on it and see if it does bounce. German pharmaceutical and chemical companies are in a downtrend. Bayer and BASF, yearly up and down cycles, rebound, ? I don't know, let's have a look. Bayer, which one is it? I reckon, is it that one? Bayer AG. Yeah, that looks, yeah, it's interesting. Well, it's not interesting, but like you say, it is absolutely still weak. You know, new lows today again. 40 euros was the old support. So, you know, it's interesting if it gets back to 40 and we see the buyers come back out. If it breaks that level, we're going back to levels from like 12 years ago, aren't we? So let's see what happens with old Bayer. So, yeah, it's still weak at the moment for me. Interesting to watch. What's this one then? Is it BASF or BASF? I never know how you pronounce these things. Same thing, isn't it? You know, still weak. Trend is down. So not too exciting for me at the moment. You know, but like you say, we've had these old cyclical lows. Let's see what happens if we get back down to those. CXW. What's CXW? CXW. Korachivik. Okay, what's that then? What is it? Finance, real estate development. It looks okay, doesn't it? It looks, I'd say, cautiously okay. You know, it had, if I was looking at it then, I'd have been quite positive on that, whenever that was. Oh, that's a year ago. Because they had been trending higher. It's had a little bit of a wobble since then. But it's trying, isn't it? I've got to say, this stock is a trier. I mean, you could argue it's been a bit sideways over the last 12 months or so. But it is trying to trend higher, isn't it? From here, like that. So I would buy the dips. If I was a buyer now at $11.32, I put a stop at least the other side of 10. So it has these little, goes up a bit, then it comes off, then it goes up. So it never really trends sideways. It's always going up or down. It's just trying to catch it at the right part of the cycle, isn't it? So yeah. Can we look at BNB? I think it's going to rally to $235 in 2 hours. That is very precise. That's what I like to hear. Commitment. What is BNB? Is it Banque Nationale Belgique or is it some crazy cryptocurrency? I don't know. Is it Banque Nationale Belgique? No, because that's at 443. I'm going to guess it's some crazy cryptocurrency then. Crazy cryptocurrency? It's not that either. All right, I need a bit of clarity on what BNB is. Is it BT Pachan Resources? No, it's not that. All right. Binance Coin. Is it Binance? No, it's not Binance, isn't it? BNB, Binance Coin. Is it that? Is it the crypto? I mean, it looks incredibly boring to me. So, yeah. Just look, if it's that one, it might, I mean, it can happen, can't it? These things can move. But, yeah, I wouldn't. It's nothing too exciting for me. Just a bit dull for me. So if it's that one, let me know. Or if it's something else, let me know. Apparently they expect Bitcoin ETF to be announced soon, which will have an effect on the price. Oh, okay. But is that why Bitcoin's going up in the first place? Is Bitcoin going up because of the Bitcoin ETF? So we've got to be careful with this stuff, haven't we? Well, we don't want to be buying the news when the market has already factored the news in. Oh, SEC likely to approve spot Bitcoin ETF in the next few months. So maybe that has happened. That's according to CoinDesk. So maybe that has happened. What's this Yahoo News? Bitcoin, da 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 da. There should be a spot Bitcoin ETF. I think don't see any reason why there shouldn't be. But it might take some time, according to that. Okay, let's see. Euro Bund. I got stopped out in the Bund this week. I've had 2 losing trades on the Bund this month. Remove drawings. Here we go. I mean, there's a massive downtrend, isn't it? If we go back to whenever it was, 2022. We are still in, and we'll look at some other bond markets in a minute. We're still in a downtrend. I did buy it this week on the hourlies. I suppose an aggressive trade. I'd rather sell the rallies. We're a long way from the downtrend. An aggressive trade. It would be too early for me, but perhaps an aggressive trade on Monday. It hit a low yesterday at 127.28. It's made a little bit of a base. An aggressive trade on Monday, based off the hourlies, because it does still go up in this downtrend, obviously, is to be a buyer, but a stop under 127.28 would be one idea, I think. So yeah, but I'm a bit scared of the Bund because I've lost twice on it this month. So I might not do it. But interesting though, I think next week. Let's see where it is on Monday. I'll mention it in the WhatsApp group if you remind me. Let's see where it is. But that big trend, absolutely still down. And if you look at UST bonds, same picture. That's the dailies on the UST bonds, still really weak again yesterday. UK gilts. I mean, UK gilts are interesting. I did look at that this morning. The gilts, the UK bonds, are back to the lows, the Liz Truss lows, as they're going to be known, from October last year. We did see a massive rally from 91 to 108. What's that? 27, 30% rally off this level last year. It's not 27, it's 17, isn't it? So 20% rally off this level last year. Let's see what happens. Interesting. The gilts is quite interesting. I suppose if you're a little bit of a crazy trader, it's quite an interesting trade down here, isn't it? It's quite an interesting market to watch next week. I'm going to put a little green flag next to that so I remember to watch it next week. Okay, let's see. And the same with the Bund, the same philosophy with the Bund. Big trend down, but are we going to see at least a little blip up? Let's see. I stopped trading CFDs because I consider them a sort of gambling. Okay, I would have to disagree with that, but fair enough. But the stocks and crypto have not been doing much for the last month or two. It's very boring. It is boring. It is. I mean, it's been boring for me as well. So, and if you look at stock indices, it's just all a bit sideways, isn't it? I think going back to trading CFDs as gambling, I think gambling is what we make it in our heads. Don't get me wrong, I think most retail traders, and I class myself as a retail trader, most retail traders are gamblers. They just don't realise it, a lot of them. But using a product like a contract for difference or a spread bet, like what I use, doesn't make you a gambler. If you have a sensible approach to it, and use sensible risk management and all that stuff, all these trades in this account, for example, are CFDs. It's a fluke that they're all profitable. That Coke trade we did last week did well. We bought Coke last week on the live stream. That's done all right. Anyway, they're all CFD trades. But it's not gambling. If you have a sensible approach and you're on top of your risk management, then I do not think that trading leveraged products is necessary gambling. But I do think most retail traders are gamblers. They just don't know it. Let's look at cotton. Yes, that was an interesting market, cotton. And cocoa, actually. Let's have a look at cotton first, though. I think I was looking to buy the dip on cotton, but it carried on dipping. Yeah, there we go. I think that's another interesting one for next week. The trend in cotton, if you go back a bit, had been up since last year, this time last year. It's fallen out the trend line. I would still be looking to buy the dip. The question is, how long does the dip go? I would want stops under 80, probably, on that one. But I think that's an interesting market from a more medium-term point of view next week to see if that stops. Cocoa, we've mentioned this in the past. Great trend in cocoa since September 22. I should have bought. I never buy this thing. I'm just ridiculous. I should have bought it back here at 34. Didn't buy it. Trend is still up. I would buy the dip on cocoa. So yeah, some interesting markets if we go outside the normal things. Natural gas sold off. Do you think it will bounce back? Yeah, we did cover that. You might have missed it. You can rewind it once I've finished. I am waiting to buy the dip in natural gas. So I am waiting for a bounce in natural gas. Nvidia. What has this done recently? It was in a great trend. What's it done recently? It's done not much. Like the broader market. I still buy the dip in Nvidia. Give it all one last chance. So that great trend since the beginning of the year. They were $145. Touched 500 in August. Like everything else, all a bit sideways since then. If I was a buy, should we do that? Let's do a trade. I haven't done a trade today, have we? Let's do a trade in Nvidia. So I'm going to buy Nvidia because it's at near the bottom of the range. I should probably be a bit more patient and buy it on Monday. But let's buy it today because I don't do live streams on Monday. So I'm going to be a buyer of Nvidia. I'm going to assume the 401 level is going to hold. I'm going to go a bit wider on my stop though. I am going to go, where's the go on the stop? 375. There we go. Make the maths easy for me. So we'll buy Nvidia. NVDIA. NVDA. I spelled it completely wrong. Nvidia. Come on. All right, let's do that again. NVDA with a stop at, what did I say? 375. 375 stop. Bang. Done. Let's risk a couple $100. We'll do 4 of them. So buying 421, blah, blah, blah. Stop loss 375. Okay, done. Right, there we go. Trade not filled. Why not? Your order's not completed. The price is... All right, let's try it again. We're going to buy 4 at 427. Okay, place trade. Done. Right. Okay, so we bought Nvidia. I think that's interesting. Not the most exciting looking one over the last few months, like a lot of stocks. But my bet here, to go back to our gambling terminology, is that we're going to see the lows at the bottom of that range hold, and perhaps we see a bit of a recovery over the next couple of weeks. Let's see how it turns out. So yeah, can we check CrowdStrike? I've got trade on CrowdStrike in here. Look at that. So we bought it. I bought it at 147. I think I bought that months ago. Hang on, let's bring the chart up, and then we'll have a look at it properly. So I bought CrowdStrike at 147. So I'm guessing in the summer, July, and I have moved that stop to trailing just today. All right, let's have a look. CrowdStrike. I think I would be looking to buy the dip at the moment. But let's have a quick look at that. Let's change that. So yeah, buy the dip. Trend is up. I'm in the trade. Trend is up since Jan. How far does the dip go? I don't know. But when it stops dipping, I would look to be a buyer, and the closest I would have my stop is probably the other side of 157 at the moment. So that's another interesting one from a stock point of view to watch next week. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Natural gas, orange juice. Why is it so important and trading so strong? People love orange juice. Don't you love orange juice? Who knows? I'm guessing it's normally when we see these big agricultural things moving, it's normally because of like a crop failure or a bad crop or something like that. Here we go. The stock price of orange juice from the Grocer magazine, no less. And we're going a bit off piece today. Amid citrus supply squeeze. Like what they've done there with the squeeze. Cost of orange is said to be the worldwide shortages of the fruit. This is back in the summer. Orange juice futures have surged to record high. Multiple hurricanes and disease decimated crops in the US and Brazil, two of the world's largest orange suppliers. There you go. That's what's happening in the OJ market, as they say. So beginning of the year, orange juice was $2 a pound, and now it's almost doubled this year, the price of orange juice. There you go. So we did all that. What platforms you use for trading? If you go to my website, there is a section. I did a short video on trading, but drop me an email as well because I'm doing something new on trading platforms. So I mentioned it in this webinar I did last week. If you go to broker, you can see a short video I did there, a horrible picture of me, about the broker. I'm doing something new as well. I did this webinar a week ago, I talked about it then. If you want to find out about it, drop me an email. There you go, DJ at David Jones Trading. I can give you a bit more information, but there's a bit more information, 10-minute video. You can find out there the whys and the why I use and what I use. You are correct. Most retail don't know they're gamblers, especially leverage products at CFDs. But gambling without strategy is stupid. It's better to burn your money. I don't know. I think it's more fun to lose it trading CFDs than watching it burn. At least you have the hope for a few days or a few weeks that you're going to make a fortune before it all disappears in front of your eyes. So yeah, Nasdaq's really falling now, isn't it? Is it on new lows for the day? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Okay. But the premise behind CFDs is problematic for me. Okay. Right, and that's it, I think. We're all done. If there's no more questions, we're all done. So a funny few weeks. Scrappy. Hard work, profitable for me overall. Not go out and buy 3 Lamborghinis, profitable though. So, but okay. Interesting markets next week. Like I say, natural gas. What happens here with that? Does the dip stop? Or does this actually end up being a false breakout and we go crashing back down to wherever we were? So I think that's quite an interesting market. Gold, because it has been on an absolute rip over the last 3 days, briefly poked to its highest level since May today. So that's interesting. And everything else, perhaps not so interesting at the moment, but I'm sure that'll change. These things do change, as we know. Let's see what happens with these stock markets, which have been just a little bit all over the place. Those bond markets that someone mentioned earlier, Alina mentioned it earlier, is interesting. This UK gilt thing next week, and the bund and the T-bonds, because we're back to a big level on that. So slightly different markets. Not many retail traders, in my experience, trade the bonds. So always interesting to see what happens. Right, but otherwise, we'll wrap things up. Go to the website to find out more. I'm finished for the week, I think, unless something exciting happens this evening. Any questions, you can drop me an email, dj@davidjonestrading.co.uk. I did this webinar a week ago on common problems people have. About 70 people emailed in the problems they had with trading. So I did a webinar on it a week ago. If you haven't seen that webinar and you'd like to, drop me an email, dj@davidjonestrading.co.uk. I think it should be in the description to this video, and I'll send you the link to that. Will I be supporting England? Of course, even though Wales tragically out. But I'm going to be out, I won't be able to watch the match, so I won't have to sit through and watch England getting through, but I hope they get through. So that's it. Go to the website, find out more, do it all again next Friday. Yeah, have a good weekend, and good luck with your trading in the meantime.